Yeah. This is the one in which I get fucked up.
Where's the baby?
There.
If there's one thing that there's gonna be consistency of, it's the baby.
Hello to this new episode of...
Michael's Cabinet of Fixations!
That's gonna end up horribly bad. That thing's gonna fall.
The baby's
right now.
thirsty.
Baby's holding a bottle of...
H2O!
H2O. I was about to say the scientific formula of it, and it just like blew out of my mind.
Did you say dehydrated something?
No, I was about to say, damn it. It's oxide. Hydrogen oxide? You know what? I'm not even gonna try. So I'm not a chemist.
H2O. H02H.
Told you. Adrian, please.
I am the chaos. I am chaos in your podcast.
You are. And well, this is, as you can see, today we have scientific names for stuff because what are we going today, Adrian? What are we doing today?
Science.
Specifically,
Science.
that is not how science works.
Yes.
We usually go in long tandems, long conversations, tangents, sorry, not tandems, tangents, conversations and stuff about science and its usage on cinema, on games,
media.
on media in general, because in most of those cases, that's not how science works.
Yes.
And actually, that makes me angry, which is why I'm gonna start with the dynamic of this episode. I'm gonna open this nice bottle of...
Classic margarita.
Yeah.
Of C2H6O.
I am going to take a shot every time I am forced to say that is not how works. That is not how blank works.
That's not how DNA works. That's not how the ocean works. That's not how dunno.
Of course, I'm not counting those because I'm gonna get fucked up in a second.
Oh no, it has to be specifically, and you have to say it, not
Yeah,
me.
correct.
So like,
I have to say it.
I can
So,
say it as many times as I want.
I'm gonna fill that up a bit
No, that's
more.
not how
because
science
very sad.
works. That's not how science works.
Adrian, please. I'm gonna fill that up a bit more because that is for the week. All right. So with a
I'm just
bottle
gonna
of
be
cheap alcohol
And water.
Cheers, because I don't know if you guys know, but Adrian is actually a Mormon.
Oh, I need a napkin or something. Water's gonna come out of my nose. I'll be right back.
Adrian
Hey,
is not
chill.
actually a Mormon.
I am not a Mormon.
However, our producer Michelle really is an Amish. You can ask her in her personal trivia. It's actually a very interesting journey. Don't kill me, Michelle. But she really is Amish, and that is actually a very
Just FYI, I just blew my nose and I realized my mic was on, so
That
you're
is fine.
probably
That
gonna
is
hear
fine.
that.
We're absolutely including that. Okay, Michelle is looking.
Oh
at me
my
with that
God.
face. That is probably gonna make me say, no, she's actually not Amish. That was part of a joke. Cheers. That's not how Amish works, I guess.
All right. Okay, I'm
Going
back.
with the challenge. Down the first shot of margarita. We don't have a shot glass,
So it's a shot.
so no, don't ruin it. So this is actually, I'm gonna make a quick shout out to our friends from The Convergence. Because this is a mug from
Convergence.
The Convergence, an event about D&D and fantasy that was, I guess last year, if you're seeing this, on Utah. And it was actually pretty cool. It was done in the Evermore Park, organized by Quincy's from Quincy's Tavern, and Jason from Critical Dice, and a bunch of other content creators related to D&D.
Yeah, it was so cool.
It was a great event.
Which you will see the video about it.
Or you probably already have.
Yes.
A full video about it. This was a great event, a great week that we spent on Utah, and it was amazing.
Speaking of Mormons, that really tied into Utah.
Yeah, Adrian, do you feel good visiting your people?
I'm not Mormon, I swear.
He doesn't drink, however.
I don't drink.
So
or smoke.
he's drinking the water thing. I'm gonna drink for both of us. So
I'll live vicariously through him.
what is science? Let's go very, very, I don't know, hyper.
Science is a process. Science is like when you are observing or discovering something, it is the process of how you do that. In the sense of you create a hypothesis.
Your chair here, so you're
Where are you
actually
going?
focus. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It is you create a hypothesis and then you test that hypothesis through many different tests.
The scientific method.
The scientific method for those uninitiated. Oh, we're getting high class up in here. The scientific method, after you test it and then you come to a conclusion of was your hypothesis correct or was it not? Or was it something completely different?
I'm gonna drink just out of hearing his British accent.
But now, here's the thing that I think almost every single person forgets. And when I say every single person, I'm not talking about scientists or people who are like, but I'm saying like a lot of people that I talk to. Just because the scientific, you finished your experiment and you come to a conclusion, does not mean you are finished. There's always room.
The scientific. Hey, scientists, have you finished? Not yet, baby. Not yet.
Take another drink.
That's not how sex works, I guess.
But because there's always room for revision, there's always room to go back, and as time goes on, as technology advances, and as we continue to learn things, you can always learn of like, oh hey, this person was onto something, but maybe their conclusion wasn't correct, or anything like that. So there's always room for hypothesis, for growth. The hypothesis, the actual testing and the process of it, the conclusion, and the revision, if needed.
Something very important. Science is not a monolithic thing. It's not a dogma. It's not something immutable. It is by nature mutable. It is made to be revisited and to be basically confronted with new evidence, with new processes, with more accurate information to, make it progress. There is not a proven anything. What there is a scientific consensus, which basically means the most accepted theory, which is not the same as something 100% confirmed. Absolutely nothing is 100% confirmed. And we've gone deep through this, like difference between scientific theory and scientific law, and how a lot of people do not understand the word theory, for example, when they think of theory.
Actually,
please.
Yeah.
Go on, because I love hearing you say this.
Yes, okay. So scientific theory, like for example, gravity is a theory. There are laws to explain what gravity does. But gravity is a theory. How is that? A theory is not what a lot of people think of when they think of theory. When a lot of people are like, oh, hey, it's a theory, they just think it's a guess or something like that, where a scientific theory isn't a guess. That is a hypothesis. The hypothesis is the guess.
An educated guess.
An educated guess.
That is made to guide the scientific process.
Yes.
It's not made to be a definitive answer. Thing is, in colloquial terms, a lot of people use the word theory as a hypothesis, basically.
Exactly.
Oh, my theory is that, I don't know, my theory about FNAF, about the Five Nights at Freddy's. Oh, my theory is that Starkiller is in Ahsoka. My theory is that, my theory is this.
Yeah.
And that is not the word theory in the scientific term.
Exactly. So theory is you can probably explain the actual definition of theory a little bit better than I can.
Theory would be more like a corpus of explanations, a theoretical frame, which is where the word theory comes from actually, that is trying to explain a specific phenomenon. That is what a theory is. It doesn't mean that it's not being proven, because nothing is actually ever proven. What happens is that you accumulate enough evidence, so your theory, your corpus of explanation, basically, gets more accepted into scientific consensus. Of course, there are always voices that are not accepting your theory and are going to try to debate against that. There is, for example, this thing about how, we know about Einstein. Most people know that Einstein postulated the theory of relativity, of general and I don't remember the other one. Damn it! English is hard. But basically, the theory of general relativity.
Do you remember in Spanish?
La teoría de la relatividad general y la teoría de la relatividad.
Do you want me to look it up real quick?
Yes, please. Please. A theory of general relativity is the theory that basically explains, according to Einstein, how space-time works. It includes stuff like dilation of time, like curvature of space, and how space itself gets curved through gravity and through time.
General relativity and what? And
General relativity and simple relativity, I believe.
I think it might be that.
I believe it's simple and general relativity.
Simple in general.
I believe so.
Okay.
Please take it with a
if
grain
we
of
are
salt.
wrong, like please put it in the comments or anything like that on that scope, because
Yeah.
even though we talk about this and we like to do a lot of research and we like to learn a lot, we are in no way claiming to be experts.
No.
We just
No,
like
we're
to
not.
share what we found, and if there's anything that's said like, oh hey, this was wrong, or hey, you're in the right direction, but this is what it actually is, please let
Remember
us know.
that here in Michael's little cabinet of hyperfixation, we are trying to share the stuff that makes us geek out, that makes us basically the conversations that we have in daily life as the couple of neurodivergent assholes that we are, with some information behind it. But we are encouraging fact-checking, we are encouraging that you please go and do
Critical
your own
thinking.
research. Exactly, critical thinking is important. Do not take what we say as a word of God. We are not. I would love to, but we are not. Megalomania aside. So just please do your research and always question everything. That is very important. Now, with that in mind,
Yeah.
the theory of general relativity basically postulates a lot of stuff that we give for granted right now. Our clocks, particularly the ones that are the nice one.
Give me.
Nice one. Another one?
Yeah, it
Nice.
was a
Nice.
sloth.
Better out than in. Shrek said it.
Shrek said
Shrek
it.
said it.
Shrek.
Theory of general relativity does stuff like, for example, time dilation, and we actually take that into consideration when creating the more precise clocks that exist in satellites around the Earth, because at the speed that those satellites are moving, there is a certain amount of time dilation to be taken into consideration, so those clocks can be in synchro with the ones on Earth. So that exists. Our telescopes use principles of general relativity to try to correct for gravitational lensing or use gravitational lensing to their advance. That is something that the James Webb, the latest telescope that was out to replace the Hubble, actually does. It uses gravitational lensing to try and have more defined images of things that are way farther away in space than we were ever be able to see before. Why? Because light disperses with space. The more light traverses, the more it disperses, the less defined it is, the less information it actually can carry or can transmit. So gravitational lensing, what it does is basically is the act of how gravity distorts light in a way in its path. And by taking those deformities into consideration, we are able to reconstruct those deformed paths of light and with that we can actually rescue more information out of that dispersed light and be able to see with more definition. We know that that's something that happens because the theory of general relativity includes that into its topic, which is the entire how gravity is basically space being curved by objects with mass. So you would say, is the theory of general relativity 100% confirmed? No. We know that it's not. We know that it can't be an absolute truth because it doesn't take quantum mechanics into consideration. And we also know that quantum mechanics are a thing. Quantum mechanics are the basic construct, the basic elements that build the construct that is the universe. Stuff like quantum particles and stuff like quantum tunneling, stuff like the law of,
Quantumania, Ant-Man and the Wasp. His favorite movie.
That is not how quantum mechanics works.
I got him on to say it.
Do you want to talk about Quantumania, Adrian?
No, I just wanted you to mention it.
Thank you.
Because he's going to get really mad. He does
I
not like the
have
movie
problems
at all.
with Quantumania.
I thought it was fine. Like, it's not great or anything, but it was fun. I
My
had
problems with
fun time.
Quantumania have nothing to do with the quantum mechanics in Quantumania because the rest of the MCU also does quantum mechanics really badly, and I am not there to try to actually receive real science. My problems with Quantumania are because it's a bad movie.
Yeah,
that is the main issue.
I had fun.
I did not. So
Back to
basically, quantum mechanics does not completely coexist with general relativity, because general relativity does not explain gravity in quantum terms. And quantum mechanics needs gravity to be explained in quantum terms, but it doesn't provide a way. So it's kind of like an incomplete, both two facets of incomplete theories that try to explain the universe as we understand it. We use both theories in regular everyday life. I've mentioned the examples for relativity, but for quantum mechanics, stuff like, for example, flash drives and that kind of connection in computers work because of quantum mechanics, because they work using quantum tunneling. The idea that a particle can be here and can be there at the same time, depending on how you observe it, which is super fascinating by itself.
Yeah.
Super fascinating by itself. And we use both. We know that they're both real, but at the same time, we are not sure which one or both. And that is the magic of scientific consensus and science as a process, is the fact that we never actually stop learning.
Yeah.
There is no way to actually completely verify something, because we have such an incomplete understanding of how the universe works to begin with, that we cannot give anything for granted.
Yeah.
And that is why every year there are new theories that are trying to go out and trying to explain those kinds of models. They're trying to explain those contradictions. They're trying to create alternatives. There's the theory of fields, of the unified fields, for example, the family of the spring theories, which are so complex by themselves that I don't know if I even understand them correctly, because I'm not an expert in physics either way. I'm more like an amateur that really likes to investigate about that stuff, and that is one of my hyperfixations. And I love to see that, because it basically means that we are still creating so much knowledge, and that is the magic of science by itself. It's not trying to say this is how everything works. It's trying to say this is how we can learn how everything works.
Yeah.
And I find that amazing.
Yeah. Honestly, like, just the whole fact of that, the whole thing about, like, we never stop learning, we never like, and there's always something new to learn, and there's always something new to revisit, honestly is very exciting to me, because then I feel like if everything were just bam, and
As
you
it
just
is.
knew it as it is, then what is there to learn? What is, like, yes, you can strive for stuff still, but, like, well, how much more interesting is it? Like, there's so much stuff that I want to learn. There's so much stuff that, like, I want to go get that knowledge. I want to, and all that other stuff, and just makes things so much more exciting. And when you do figure out stuff, and it's like it's almost like an adrenaline that just pumps through your veins, where it's like you're getting this giant mix of serotonin when you actually, like, discover something, and it makes you feel amazing. And not just that, but, like, it's just you discover something, and it's such a beautiful thing, and you get to share that with other people, and then other people can, like, comment and talk about it, and then who knows, maybe with that you might discover, oh, hey, what you discovered, maybe you're on the right path, maybe you weren't on the right path, but at the very least, like, you're talking about it and you're continuing to learn, and in doing that, you're learning more about the world around you, yourself, and the people around you too.
I want to actually make a small parenthesis what you're saying, because of how fascinating that can get. And a lot of people are actually, a lot of people want to know more, but not necessarily have the channels. So I want to actually quickly mention a YouTube channel that inspires me a lot. So if you see these guys, there's a YouTube channel that's called Ben G. Thomas. That is Ben as in B-E-N, space G, the letter G, and space Thomas as in Thomas the Tank Engine. It is a YouTube channel that basically mostly paleontology and biology divulgation YouTube channel that does a very nice thing that is called This Week in Science.
Cool.
That is a series that they upload weekly, in which, as if they were a news channel, a news chain, they basically talk about what has been discovered or what are the news things in science for that week.
That's cool.
Which is pretty cool. Like, if you just want to learn a bit more about what is being done, what is happening right now, I seriously recommend you go to YouTube and you give them a subscribe, like, and you just follow that specific series.
Yeah.
And if you want to learn more about biology, paleontology, sometimes they do anthropology and other stuff like that, please check them. They're really cool. Benji Thomas, guys, if you see this, I personally love you. Big fan. Please keep going what you're doing. Please keep doing what you're doing.
Big fan.
Oh no.
Is that how science works?
That's not how DNA works.
I'll just say something, and then I'll say, "Is that how this works?" And I'll get them to say it.
I'm already 1/4 down. That's cool.
Yeah, and, like, obviously, like, with every single type of advancement and stuff, like, it's not like when it comes to like the actual science and everything. Again, which is very interesting because like I feel like a lot of people can put a label on it as like good or bad, and I don't believe the actual science, like the science, the process, and the discovering of it is bad.
No.
Now, what can be contorted to be very bad and to go against people is how you use it, you know? Again, let's just take something like science helped create the atomic bomb.
I actually wanted to mention that because
But nuclear power,
it's very good. I support nuclear power.
the actual nuclear power is very clean, very pure, and it's a very good source of energy.
I want to mention that, but actually, there is a lot of misinformation in the public regarding how nuclear power actually works. Even some organizations like Greenpeace and others that try to vote for, cleaner and greener forms of energy production are against nuclear power. And I think that happens because of a lot of misinformation. I'm actually going to recommend another channel, not a scientific divulgation channel. Half of my YouTube, by the way, is divulgation channels, so I love them. Kyle Hill. That is Kyle with Kyle space Hill. Kyle Hill is a scientific divulgator and communicator in YouTube. Bro is incredible. Kyle, if you for any reason see this or hear this, please, again, I love you, big fan. Keep doing what you're doing. Kyle Hill has a very nice series on YouTube that is called the Half-Life series. It has nothing to do with the game, which I'm a fan of.
I have not played the game.
It's incredible. Second one's mwah, I love that. I grew up playing that game. Peruvians in this they're gonna understand because
is that how Peru works?
That's actually how Peru works. I am not gonna take a drink for that.
I got it right.
Small parenthesis right there. Peruvians. I don't know if this is a thing with other Latin American countries, but at least in Peru, when you went to a LAN center, which is basically a place with computers.
Oh yeah, I know what LAN center is.
I didn't know if you had the same thing here in the first world.
I don't remember. I just know what they actually are.
Okay,
so who knows? We probably did.
One of the staple games that you always had when any LAN center had Age of Empires 2 and the Conquerors, had Warcraft 3, had Counter-Strike, and 1.6 and 0. Operation Zero, sorry. And Half-Life, the first one. So I, as a lot of people, grew up playing the multiplayer of Half-Life. And it was awesome. It is awesome. I still love that game to this day. The campaign mode's amazing, and then the Half-Life 2 is incredible. I really hope Half-Life 3
ever gets made.
It's like Winds of Winter at this point. I know that George R. R. Martin is never gonna complete his saga. I know that Half-Life is never gonna be finished. I have to live with that. I
know
if you get this Star Trek reference, I have to live with it. That's a reference for in the Pale Moonlight, by the way. The best episode of Deep Space Nine.
And there's never, ever gonna be a season 3 of My Babysitter is a Vampire.
Damn it! We're just watching My Babysitter is a Vampire a few weeks ago.
Month or two ago.
Yeah, probably. Season 2 got us so hooked, and then never gonna be a season 3. I hate when things are canceled that way. I'm gonna make a whole episode about cancellation. Bless you! ¿Quieres? I guess no. Going back to topic.
Going back to science.
Kyle Hill does this series, that is the Half-Life series, in which he's basically trying to educate people about nuclear power in general. It's both about disasters in nuclear power, like he's talking about Chernobyl, but he's also talking about other disasters and small incidents and accidents like the Demon Core, which is, by the way, a whole meme by itself at this point for some reason. I love the Demon Core memes.
That's how the world copes with trauma.
That is true.
Just make it a meme, make it a comedy.
I love the Demon Core memes and the elephant foot memes. They're amazing. The elephant foot is the piece of radiative material that is in Chernobyl.
Oh,
okay. It's considered the most dangerous.
I did not know it was called the elephant foot. So I was like, you said elephant foot, and I was like, what are they doing with elephant's feet?
If you see the picture looks like the foot of an elephant. That is why it's called that name. It's basically molten concrete mixed with radioactive material that is so incredibly reactive that the camera that was used to take the picture died like seconds after the picture.
Wow. Radiation.
It is very interesting. Chernobyl is a very interesting topic by itself. The show is amazing, by the way. Watch it.
Did you ever watch the movie on Chernobyl where it turns into a horror movie where there's like mutated people and they're like hunting something?
I am pretty sure you're talking about some version of a Stalker. Stalker was originally Andrei Tarkovsky movie.
No.
It was a novel.
No, not that movie.
Great movie, by the way.
I have not seen that movie. No, there's legitimately a movie. I think it might have been a found footage film in the early 2000s. I remember because I think I was in middle school or elementary school, one of the two, and it was like Chernobyl. Like people were going to visit Chernobyl, and it was a horror movie. As a kid, I was like, "That's creepy." I remember vividly some things about it, about the trailer. I was like, "Yeah, that looks so dumb." It honestly looks like a really bad movie. It probably is a really bad movie.
I never heard of it. I have seen Stalker, which is the Andrei Tarkovsky movie, which is a masterpiece, one of my favorite movies ever. And I played the early game from the 2000s. That was Stalker. That was sort of based on the movie. It was a game.
That's
but the game was a survival horror with shooter. Like you were a stalker, a person that got into Zone Zero, but you fought mutants and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, it was my first introduction to like the post-apocalyptic radiation stuff before I ever played Fallout or Metro 2033.
Cool.
Which I love, but it's not how radiation works.
Not how radiation works.
I just wanted an excuse to drink at this point. So, Kyle Hill in this series is both trying to educate the audience regarding how these incidents happen, but it's also trying to basically do a good job at educating the general public in how nuclear power actually works, in how it is actually safer than we think it is. It contaminates way less than like coal or oil and others, because what comes out of the chimneys of these, huge chimneys, is not actually radioactive material. It is only water vapor, because a nuclear plant uses nuclear fission to evaporate water, and that water evaporated creates energy through turbines. It's basically a huge steam engine, steam power. And then the radioactive waste that happens after you use all of that uranium, because I believe plutonium is not used anymore, it's uranium. That radioactive waste gets safely stored and put away with a lot of different labels of "do not open this" in very, very secure. It's not like just left around. It's in very secure places.
No, if you're gonna do that, you gotta be secure about it.
Yeah, right now, modern nuclear power is actually pretty safe, and the incidents have been Fukushima being the latest one, and Chernobyl, of course, like being Chernobyl,
the biggest.
And have basically being mostly isolated cases that happen because of both human error and negligence in the construction. But if that kind of stuff gets actually well regulated, could be a good alternative until we get something even cleaner and even safer, like nuclear fusion. So yeah.
And it's a thing where it's like, it's like people argue like, oh, but oil, but like, it's like, oil isn't safe.
No, oil is fucked up, bro.
Freaking, you go into the gas station, you put oil in your car. It smells like crap. First and foremost, oil smells horrible, and if you inhale too much of that, it's not healthy for you. Then on top of that, you get oil spills in the coasts and everything, where it's destroying ecosystems, and not just there are ecosystems out there. No, that affects you too.
That affects a lot.
That affects the whole planet. In terms, affects you, and it's not safe.
Which is why I mentioned it's very important to actually, for people to be genuinely educated in how science legitimately works. Which is one of the reasons why I get so mad when I see stuff misrepresented on the screen. Like, that is the thing. I can understand stuff like that can basically be taken as this is a license because of the genre. For example, Star Wars and sound in space. And everything in general, basically, in sound in space. Even something that's trying to be as realistic as The Expanse, which is, by the way, a fantastic show. I haven't read the books. The show is fantastic. The Expanse that tries to be realistic sci-fi, as hard sci-fi as it gets, it still depicts sound in space. Because, you kind of have to get the license to depict space battles as something exciting. Because, as a lot of people may know, there's no sound in space. Alien says no one can hear your screams in space, because there's no air to transmit it. However, that is let's say, an acceptable break from reality. To try and make them a bit more exciting. If you're trying to depict dogfights from World War II or like in Star Wars, makes a bit more sense to have the lasers go pew 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 pew, and the ships go boom.
There are certain things that don't need to be scientifically accurate.
I mean, I would love to see something. For example, Dune.
Dune is really
Dune does silent space.
You know what also does silent space?
Amazing.
Interstellar.
Interstellar is another fantastic.
And it uses
fantastic
it so good.
Interstellar,
the thing is,
yeah.
it really, if you're gonna go for it, you craft everything around, and so you can actually, for example, aerial dog fights in space. Yeah, don't do that silently. It's going to be a lot more cool with the sound effects and stuff. But if you're going to do something like Interstellar, where you have this really tense scene of just something docking or anything else, and your story really revolves around stuff like that, then go for it. If you can, as long as it's not something for example, something that's harmful, hey, here's how something works. It's that's not how science. This is not how it works.
That's not how science works.
It's You're misinforming people, and I get in many ways, because I'm more of the person of hey, it's a movie, it's story, I'm not gonna go there for realism type of thing. But movies at the end of the day are the greatest communication that we have.
Let's say, for example, something very, very simple. And this is trying to not stir that much controversy.
Yeah.
A lot of people I've seen, for example, every time a few episodes ago, we talked about the Mammoth Project, remember?
Yeah.
We tried to clone Mammoth. I remember because in some of these posts that some news agencies try to, showcase advances on this or in cloning or stuff like that, for example. Or something a bit more relevant, like gene splicing in animals, for example, mouses that are genetically modified to grow ears or stuff like that, human ears that they can basically cut and transplant into humans to get replacements. Or organ cultivation, which basically is an emergent field that is about cloning specifically organs of humans. Say, for example, you need a transplant of heart. You could wait for someone to give you a heart or to give you a kidney or to give you a liver. You could wait for someone, but then there's some risk that your body is not going to recognize that as yours. And it's your own immune system is going to fight that external organ until it dies, and you die of organ failure because you needed that organ to live. This emergent field of organ cloning or organ cultivation is basically trying to cultivate, specifically grow only organs instead of cloning an entire individual, as in The Island, the movie by Michael Bay. What they're trying to do is to just grow the organ itself that you need out of your own DNA, your own cells. So it is exactly the same in a genetic form as it is in the genetic signature, as it is in the ones that you have inside. Then you just replace it, a regular transplant like you do normal. And your immune system is not going to affect it, it's not going to attack it, because it's going to recognize it as part of your own. So that is, for example, a huge advancement that we have in science, that we are actively trying to, develop and to insert into regular medicine. And sometimes when I see these posts being made, there's a lot of people that are so they're gonna create monsters. So cloning, like in this movie. Like in Jurassic Park, and are gonna eat you, and stuff like that. And I'm like, did you even watch that movie, bro? Jurassic Park is not about the runs of science. It's about the runs of capitalism. The science went incredibly well. The science was able to capture the magic of having dinosaurs back again in Jurassic Park. It was the greed of the park, the cutting costs by Hammond, and all of this other stuff that actually ended up creating the incident that, dinosaurs eating people and stuff. It was not the science, it was how humans were using it. And it is the same for those other, advancements that we have, that there are some movies that take that advancement as an automatically a bad thing. And that is what I think is the most harmful part of, that is not how science works.
Nope. I'm just making themes.
I'm already fucked up. At least kind of tipsy. But yeah, basically, science in itself is a wonderful thing. It can be dangerous.
Yes.
But that is how every tool can get to be. And I want to mention, because you mentioned nuclear power, I want to mention actually Oppenheimer. The movie. Oppenheimer, I watched it. I thought it was a fantastic movie.
I haven't seen it.
No, it's not like.
Oh no, I'm saying for the audience,
no.
FYI, I haven't seen it. I watched Barbie.
Barbie is the movie of the year. When we watched it when we are filming this episode, it's still in 2023, and that was a movie of the year. But I want to mention Oppenheimer, because Oppenheimer does that very good thing of basically it portrays science not as a bad thing, but as a tool that's actually very wonderful, very beautiful, that the protagonist is trying to navigate, is trying to discover, is trying to get better at. And what happens is that the needs of the surroundings, needs of the context are the ones that basically push J. Robert Oppenheimer to create the bomb, to develop that bomb. And that is what is seen as a bad thing. The act of taking this knowledge and turning it into a weapon, which is an active and conscious decision by human beings, not necessarily a inevitable consequence of science going wrong. Science in itself can go wrong, but it's always because of human element. I think a lot of people that are anti-science or like against science as a thing, as a concept, I don't think they completely understand it. And I'm not saying that I completely understand it either.
Yeah.
Because we're not experts in the material, but at least I think there should be a certain level of respect and wonder towards these new knowledge and discoveries of the universe, of how we work.
Yeah, there's so many secrets in the smallest of things that you could spend a lifetime discovering the smallest thing as you could discovering the rest of the galaxy. It's insane. That's like, it's absolutely beautiful, and I love that. And honestly, like I was gonna say this just in case, just in case there's someone that's still like a little bit on the theory versus thing. I was going to do the restaurant example that we talked about.
Please.
Basically, and then you put a cap on at least that part.
Please.
Basically, let's say a good way to explain what a scientific theory is, because some people might be like, oh, explain the phenomenon, but why is it called, and all this other stuff. Here's a good way to explain it. You're at a restaurant. Someone just randomly walks in, yells, pushes a table, and leaves. And you're like, okay, what the heck was that? Okay, so then you're like, okay, so the theory is the person, you're trying to explain the phenomena that is the person coming in and pushing the table. So that is the theory. Now you have a hypothesis to that theory, and you're saying, why did that guy come in and push the table, or who is that guy, and everything.
The hypothesis would be something like, for example, maybe the guy wanted to vandalize the restaurant because they robbed him. They robbed him or her family or something in a plate, or maybe he has a personal beef with some owner. That could be the hypothesis. You start with that guess.
You start with guesses to get to that, to the theory, and then now you start to actually put it to work. You ask the staff, you ask people in this restaurant, you ask people, if you can find people who are close to that person, you start figuring out more about this person through any means that you can. And if you can, obviously this doesn't really apply to something like gravity, because you can't really talk to gravity, but in this situation...
That's why we have math, by the way.
I mean, there's math, but you know.
That's how you talk to gravity, using math.
I mean, but I mean more like, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? Tell me your name, type of a thing.
I'm pretty sure that if you do enough mushrooms, you can talk directly to gravity.
I mean, if you do enough mushrooms, you can talk to anything. But basically, like, for the example, you know, another test that you do is you actually talk to the person, and then you figure out, okay, my hypothesis is wrong. This person, I don't know, what's a good thing or reason that he could.
That person was.
Let's say that person was drunk or something, and so your hypothesis was, oh, does this person have any beef? It's like, no, he was just drunk. So you come to a conclusion of why. Now, the laws that you're going to be using, okay, you can use the law of the force that he's pushing on the table.
Let's say the laws of Newton, for example, that describe that, because a law is specifically a mathematical expression of a very specific phenomenon that happens in nature.
Yes.
That is what law is. Law is, for example, E equals mc squared. Energy equals mass per light speed squared. That is a law, an equation, and the context that surrounds a specific equation. That law is part of the theory of general relativity. It's not a separate thing. It's not a step above. A lot of people, because of school, think that a law is a step above theory, and it's not. It's part of it. A law is specifically mathematical.
They are like, theory does not change into a law or nothing like that.
They do not.
They're part of the same branch, because and one helps explain an aspect of the
Correct.
theory and everything. But
Correct.
one does not become other, but they both have their own individual functions.
Correct. A law is something more specific. A law accomplishes the job of science, which is to predict phenomena, which is to try. With science, you're not only supposed to study a phenomenon or explain a phenomenon, you're also supposed to predict a phenomenon. If the similar factors, thank you, Mrs. Producer, sorry.
You don't have to acknowledge me every time I show you the time.
I do
Yeah.
because it's kind of a meme. I want you to be a character in this. I want these people to know you as a person. I want them to eventually be with you too.
They won't know me just through the podcast. I exist.
Next episode, our producer is gonna be here. I swear. I swear.
I'm done with my H2O.
You can bring another one. Just don't show the brand. You gotta use the H2O.
And he's just.
Or don't use another one. That's okay.
But yeah, that's basically generally a good summary of
Pretty much.
the differences and everything.
Pretty much.
Do-
yes.
Do you
Me.
want to? Wait, what were you gonna say?
No, you.
No, like yours is probably gonna actually like go into mine. So go.
I just wanted to mention stuff like about specific examples on media that.
I was thinking the exact same
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Go on then.
I don't know. I was just like, hey, why don't we say some examples in media of?
Media that does science extremely wrong. You think of media that does science extremely wrong. I think of media that does science extremely
I don't.
wrong. Come on.
I would be drawing a blank every time. You'll say something, I'm like, oh yeah, that I'll remember that. I have no idea. Super Babies, Super Geniuses, does science extremely right.
Fuck that movie. Fuck Super Babies. Fuck that
That movie is a masterpiece, and you know it.
Adrian, I'm not even gonna say this is not how something
Blank works.
is. I'm not even gonna say that. I am just gonna
They have
drink out of a
freaking
more
kahuna. If you don't know what Super Babies is,
Why does the baby have a
will.
Polynesian name?
because of the burger. Because it's cool.
It was a Kahuna burger?
There's kahuna burgers.
Where?
If you just go to Jimmy Ula's, they have a kahuna burger right there. It's a type of burger too.
He's gonna be the death of me, I swear to God. And I don't even believe in God, but I swear to him, he's gonna be the death of me. Cheers.
What happens when you get a agnostic and a Christian together?
What happens? It's this.
This.
Motherfucker.
It's this. Cheers.
If it's not very obvious, he's a Christian, I'm the agnostic.
Yes.
Cheers, bro.
Cheers.
Fuck yeah.
I have no more in here, so I'm just gonna.
Because people of different denominations can coexist together. Right?
Denomination, I was like, denominations. Is that the right word? Oh well.
I mean, I guess.
We're gonna do the Terminator.
The
Predator.
So, come on.
I think literally the whole time I think I looked so dumb. I was like my teeth were out for some reason. I could be completely wrong, but that's how I felt.
I want to say that's not how, but I kind of very tipsy right now, so I'm gonna save it for like a good moment right now.
Well, why don't we do like a very quick rapid fire before our time?
Rapid
runs
fire.
out? Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, say rapid fire. I have no examples.
Okay, in that case, you know what? Because most media in the world gets science wrong, I actually want to mention media that gets science right.
That is actually
Alright.
a lot cooler.
For example, a space opera that, in my opinion, has the best depiction of its scientific ideals and terms, the concept that it uses, it is
The Expanse?
no. I mean, yeah, but it's not. I wouldn't consider The Expanse a space opera.
Dune.
Dune.
I love Dune.
The ultimate space opera and planetary romance, actually does its science so extremely well. I am very, very, very pleased. Stuff, for example, like the fact that space is silent, that how vast it is, that how expensive it would get to be to actually transport things FTL, faster than light for the non-initiated, between one planet to the other. The fact that how it depicts the invasion, how it depicts the shields working with bombs and stuff like that, how...
When the bomb gets contained in the container, it just blows up and then it's...
The visual effects work so well for what the movie is trying to achieve that is awesome. And then you have samples, for example. I think the thing that like struck to me the most was the last guns. the lasers.
In
That's last gun, by the way. For non-initiated, that's how they're
I don't remember much of the book, to be honest.
That's how they're named both in Dune and in Warhammer 40K.
I never finished the first book.
I have finished the entire series 3 times, and the 3 of them have been amazing. I have, by the way, independently read Children of Dune, which is my favorite, up to 3 times, more than just the regular trilogy. And God Emperor of Dune, I have read it 4 times in total. God Emperor of Dune, because I find it the most fascinating, but it's also the one that I struggle with the most. When I was reading the entire series for the first time, I actually stopped in God Emperor of Dune without continuing it. And then I went back to it, just because of how interesting it was. It is the toughest read of them all, in my opinion. But I love it.
I read Percy Jackson. Is that how science works?
Yeah, what the fuck not? It's a mythology war.
It's a mythology.
Percy Jackson does a really good job of being very accurate with mythology in general.
It really does. I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
I know I mentioned it in a previous episode, but I love it. I love it.
Really, really understands mythology. So basically, Dune, especially the laser guns, again, the last guns, they are thin. They are literally just a beam of light. They don't seem like, they don't do a flashy explosion or anything. It's just a concentrated beam of light that disintegrates everything in its path. And that's exactly how a real laser would work, a real laser of that power. Because laser is just light. It's just literally just pointing a flashlight at someone, and then that someone dies or explodes. And I think that is amazing how Dune actually depicts it, for example.
Give one more example that's not Dune. I want to I want to know.
I would say Interstellar, but Interstellar is also very, everyone
with the black hole and everything, which it's done beautifully.
The depiction of Gargantua, the black hole Interstellar, by the way, the equations that were used to simulate the black hole in the movie were so accurate. They were used to expand our understanding of real life black holes. And then like a few years after the movie premiere,
we got a first image of an actual black hole.
The first photography, and it looked pretty much like Gargantua, which is amazing how accurate that movie went. Another movie that does science really well, let's see. Let's think. Galaga. No, not Galaga. Fuck. Gattaca. Gattaca. That's a movie with Jude Law. It's a movie about a future in which humans can modify, edit themselves genetically to basically be better, to have better traits, to have and jobs and social status and everything is achieved through genetic lineage and your own genome, sorry, that's in English. And that movie is as accurate as you can get with gene editing, gene splicing. Like it depicts not only realistically how gene splicing would work, which is not with superpowers, because that's not how superpowers work. God damn it. I am not gonna remember tomorrow.
You gotta work tomorrow.
I know, right?
We gotta be early at work tomorrow.
I know, right? So please support us on Patreon so I don't have to work in any place other than Aurum anymore. Cheers for that.
Cheers.
With your invisible water. Gattaca not only depicts that, but also basically depicts the realistic consequences of a society that has developed gene splicing and gene editing until that point, that your entire status and your entire, basically who you are as a person in that society gets dictated by your genes. And I think that is amazing out of that movie.
Cool. Well, there's a few examples. Let us know if you want us to do another episode.
The Expanse is an amazing hard sci-fi that depicts space living, space combat, space exploration in an amazingly realistic detail. It's a very similar setting to Firefly. Because it's all set in a single solar system, in the current solar system is the same in the case of The Expanse. Doesn't have FTL. It has a very explicit, very alien plot point, which is, for example, in Firefly, that would be the rivers, and in The Expanse, that would be I'm not gonna mention the name because that's a spoiler, but the particle, which is the only alien element in the entire series. And it develops its world, its lore, and its themes around that. But then the rest of what it appears, it's actually very hard sci-fi. It's very realistic as far as it can get. The Expanse has some of the best pictures that I've ever seen of space combat, precisely because of how realistic it goes. It takes stuff like delta V, acceleration, radiators, because see, in space, heat.
No one can hear you scream.
I mean that, but as ship retains heat. It creates heat because of how it works, right? your ship has to create heat all the time. But that heat usually in modern Earth, in like the normal Earth, gets dissipated in the air. But space has no air. If your ship doesn't have a way to get rid of that extra heat, it's going to overheat to the point that it's going to melt and cook everyone inside of it. Which is something that never gets acknowledged in any space opera ever. But The Expanse makes it into a plot point because ships have to get radiators that can expel that heat out of their engines and have to basically position themselves in specific moments in the battle to expel that heat, or or create stuff like the weapons can expel cartridges that have that heat contained to not get overheated. And when a ship is forced to not deploy those radiators or just contain them, that overheating gets turned into an actual problem. That, for example, is so amazing because you can create actual cool conflict, actual new ways of exploring sci-fi using reality concepts, like how heat, for example, works, or other stuff, like how delta V gravitation, how in The Expanse, how the artificial gravity that happens because their engines are all the time accelerated at 1G get turned off when they get into battle because they have to be able to turn in any possible direction. That happens in The Expanse, and that creates conflict, that creates cool situations that we don't see in other sci-fi because they take it for granted. And that is amazing to begin with.
I need to watch The Expanse.
The Expanse is great. Please go watch it now.
Sweet. Well, if you want us to do another science-based episode and also things that is wrong with science media, please let us know, because there's a lot more to discuss.
So thank you so much for being here with me, Adrian, once more, and thank you so much for being here. I am going to finish this by myself because I am sad and lonely.
And obviously I need to bring the baby back.
Thank you so much for this and for tuning in with science, for watching us talk another almost an hour of bullshit. And thank you! Another episode of Michael's Little Cabinet of
Hyperfixations.
Thank you so much.
I almost forgot it.